Today on Showtime College Football, Season 3 is back. We're back again. Me and Sned are in the studio, better than ever. We're going to be doing our buy, sell, and hold on college football teams coming into 2025, coming up next. Before we move on, we want to introduce our new producer for the show. He is making things really happen, really churn. Jack Brady is on the show. So we've been childhood friends for a long time. And Jack, introduce yourself a little bit. He'll be helping us behind the scenes.
It's a pleasure to be here. I did a lot of video production in high school with some buddies, and I'm stoked to be back in it. Just graduated from college, not in video production. But I'm stoked to be helping out the boys.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully I can learn a thing or two about college football in the process, but stoked to be here. Thanks for having me.
The trio is here.
Yeah, Showtime's going to be delivering some higher quality content because I love doing the podcasting. I love hosting, but I don't like doing as much of the post-production.
And Jack here is very talented at what he does to where we wanted to find
extremely
someone.
talented.
Yeah, we wanted to find someone who could help us, and he happened to move back home, so we're happy to have him. Go Jack.
Excited. Go Jack! Yeah!
Let's go! Welcome back to Showtime College Football. Let's go! It is Season 3, Episode 1, and we are so excited to be back. Before we get going, we want to give a huge shout-out to our friends over at Varsity Gripz. They make collegiate wraps for your Xbox and PlayStation. I have the Oregon one right here. Chase got it as a Christmas gift. I love it. It made my Xbox just look 10 times cooler. And, the little thumb grips honestly help me in my video games. That's kind of nerdy to say, but I don't really care.
Let's go.
But they have Bama, Penn State, Oregon, Ohio State, and Tennessee, and they're announcing more soon. And use our code ShowtimeCFB for 10% off at checkout. Shout out Varsity Gripz. They're awesome.
Yes, sir. All right, let's get into the show. It's been an interesting offseason. We haven't done much. The Instagram is back and going again. The Instagram is really churning. I mean, we're doing some crazy stuff.
Me and Chase were pretty busy for
we're
a minute.
cooking.
We took a few months off.
Hiatus. We did. Hiatus,
yes. Kind of crazy.
We sure did. But we're back. We're posting almost every day. Some great graphics. Got some good stuff coming this week. Your rivalry post is going to look fantastic. Got Guess the Team back again. That's one of my favorite ones. That one doesn't do get all the masses, but it gets all of you guys, the loyal Showtime followers, guessing.
True.
Last time we did 2015 Houston. If you haven't seen it, I just gave away the answer, but we had you guess the team, gave them your schedule, and it looked pretty good. For today's feature segment, buy, sell, hold of teams from 2024 coming in to 2025. Teams that were high performing that we think will be lower performing, aka selling as you would a stock, teams that we're going to hold out on, and teams that we're going to buy coming into this year. So let's start off with teams that we are going to buy, or we can go alternate, whatever you want to do. But let's do teams that we're buying. I'm going to start off with a team that I'm buying in 2025, which is South Carolina.
Yes.
Beamer ball. I'm thinking South Carolina has been waiting to have a good season in a long time.
With South Carolina, do you think they're going to make the playoff this year? Just raw prediction right now, because they were right there last year.
They were. They finished number 19.
Because I think it's because they lost one of their last games. They didn't make it.
So and they were kind of, remember, they had 3 losses pretty early in the season, and they rallied back from those. They were really close losses to Alabama. I'm trying to remember who else. I'm still rusty right now. But they had a great season. They came into the end of the season. They had a chance, but they lost a game towards the end, like you said. But they only lost by a few points in all of their games. They hung with most people, and Lenora Sellers is coming back this year. That dude's a baller.
That is true. Lenora
Sellers
Sellers
heard hot takes
is
that
nice.
he could win the Heisman.
Wow.
That he could be in the Heisman race. That's a hot take. I don't think he's that far away. He is really good under pressure. He's experienced. They also have their star running back coming back. They've got a lot of things going for them in South Carolina.
No, I mean, I was going to do South Carolina, but then you kind of took them in. I feel like a lot of people are kind of buying South Carolina stock right now, especially with Sellers coming back, and they just were so electric last year.
Yeah.
All the fans are back into it. And when South Carolina's good, Their stadium is so fun.
Oh,
like
yeah.
all those like night games, like their blackout game.
They have elite home environment.
Also, shout out to South Carolina and Tennessee, best blackout announcing of the uniforms by far. Both
Seriously.
those videos were so
the
sweet.
Tennessee one with like the dripping black.
Like the
everywhere
symbiote.
That one was
yeah,
so crazy.
that was crazy.
All right, Sned, what's the team you're buying? It sounds like you're doing South Carolina as well, but what's the
South
other team you're
Carolina,
buying?
but this one, it's kind of popular. I mean, I don't know if it's like really buying because a lot of people on 3, like Josh Pate and then Ari Wasserman, they're kind of buying them too. It's Clemson. Clemson is top 5 in most post-spring game.
They're probably the most popular pick of this year.
Yeah,
right now.
most popular pick. But, I mean, we said this last year, and it kind of, like, bit us in the butt. But their returning production is actually quite amazing. They're pretty much
number 1 in the country.
Yeah, number 1 in the country. They have pretty much everyone coming back. You have Cade Klubnik, who I think is actually going to perform to what we all think he will be this year. I think he has more experience, especially playing at Texas in the playoff. I think that was good for him. It was a good, I think, learning experience for that whole team.
Right.
And I just think Clemson's back because they've been kind of like they've been there, but they haven't really been back like since they won it.
It's true. It's true. And Josh Pate has them at number 1 in his preseason ranking, which I think is
Honestly,
I admit
I probably
it's a hot take.
I'll put them in my top 5 probably.
I think they definitely deserve a top 8 spot as of right now. I have not assembled my spring top 20.
Yeah.
I have been waiting. I've been still moving around. But Clemson is the most popular pick for a reason. Now, I do want to take a minute and give a lament to our returning production worship of last year. I do think returning production still is very important, but last year we basically took that as gospel.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech, Wisconsin, Nebraska, all those teams that we were crazy about.
Well, I think my favorite post we
was
made
returning production.
was the like 5 dark horses to make the playoff.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It was like Virginia Tech, Wisconsin, Kansas, Memphis. I mean, Memphis was one of the better non-Power 5 teams to where could have worked, but
I'll be talking about them in a minute.
that post was
them.
so bad, dude.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was interesting because those were specifically, I think those were playoff sleepers we had. So we wanted to be different. We wanted to have different teams, and I legitimately did think Virginia Tech could have done it. Their schedule was so easy. That loss to Vanderbilt and then on, they couldn't handle anything. But you know what? We'll see. Clemson. Let's go back to Clemson. They've been on a slow burn since that 2023 season, like you said, and I think it's only been really slow because they did it the old way. They've done it through processing, recruiting guys, and building them through the years, basically the old way. And they did get a few recruits this year. They got a few big recruits.
Yeah,
Quality,
they actually did, and I think
they kept everybody.
I think they've gotten a few transfers too, which is
Sorry, I meant transfers.
which is like the first time because Dabo. I think they were one of 3 teams, and the other 2 were Army and
that
Navy,
was last year.
or Army and Air Force, who didn't have one transfer come in.
Yeah.
To where this is like Clemson, man.
Big
They're
time.
actually he's starting to buy into the new.
I think they got 3 transfers.
I mean, still
Really good. Well, they're really good transfers. I think they're all 4 stars.
He's starting to buy in to the new college football world where you have to do that because last year we were so high, like you said, on returning production, but we learned pretty much whoever's bringing in like the top transfers is going to be.
It's a conglomerate. You just need to weigh them.
But top transfers makes a huge difference, and that kind of leads into my next team, which I'll just bounce off real quick.
Wait. I do have one more thing to say about Clemson. Okay. Sorry.
That's chill.
I'm taking away his thunder.
It's whatever, man.
I did want to mention about Clemson. Not only is this a solid team that's bringing back a huge amount of production, when you look at the top 10 returning production every single year, who is it? It's generally bowl teams that were sub-bowl teams, 5 and 7. This is a playoff team that is bringing back 85% or 81% of the roster. That is unheard of. It is extremely rare for a team that was in the playoff to return this many. Any other team that was in the playoff, usually it's way further down that list. There are some, but they are in the 40. The good ones are in the 40s, 50s. You know, Georgia, Ole Miss this year is in the 100s. So there are plenty that are all over the place. And this Clemson team is rare. They also don't have a crazy tough schedule this year. Not a super hard schedule, except for the fact that they scheduled LSU and South Carolina non-conference, which I do respect.
I am excited for that LSU game.
It's going to be a great game.
I mean, South Carolina, they play like every year, I think.
They do.
But yeah. But no, I completely agree. Clemson, they're that team every year, like we just talked about, that always has returning production. But the fact that they're a playoff team, that team has experience in the playoff, I think will make a huge difference.
Yeah. And they barely made the playoff, but nonetheless. Nonetheless.
I don't really see anyone in the ACC. I think SMU will be there again. I don't think they'll be as good.
Yeah, we'll see. I got some other teams to bring up.
But
we'll see.
But I think Clemson wins the ACC.
Yeah. All right, who's your next team?
My next one is Texas Tech.
Okay.
They, like I was talking about with recruiting rankings, Texas Tech was actually second. LSU finished first.
National recruiting rankings.
Or
a transfer portal
ranking.
Yeah.
Sorry. To where I'm very high on Texas Tech. They have their quarterback coming back who only threw, I think, 7 interceptions and almost 30 touchdowns last year, over 3,000 yards. And they picked up Hudson, the receiver from Texas A&M, and a bunch of good defenders and linemen to where Texas Tech kind of filled all the spots that they needed from last year. And they weren't even that bad of a team last year. They put up a fight against some of the better Big 12 teams. But I think especially this year, I mean, was it Signelli from Indiana, the coach?
Yeah.
He said Texas Tech's one of 6 teams that spent over $40 million this year on rosters. To where I'm very high on Texas Tech. A lot of people have them kind of in the 15 to 20, 21 range on their spring top 25, to where I'm very high on Texas Tech. I love Texas Tech. I think it'd be sweet if they were to be good. And they're honestly, I mean, just kind of ahead of schedule of what we're talking about, but they're kind of my dark horse for the Big 12 this year. I think they'll finish top 3 for sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into, in later episodes this summer, we'll get into our full conference predictions, and I guarantee Texas Tech will be up there. But yeah, I do think Texas Tech is going to be pretty good. It's just in that crowded Big 12 race, there are so many teams. Just like last year, I could again see 8 or 9 teams winning that championship, the Big 12 championship. That brings me to my next team that I'm buying. This one's a little bit of a surprise. People have talked about them. There's 2 teams I'm bringing up here, actually. Baylor and TCU.
Yes. Baylor.
The entire state of Texas. So Baylor, Texas Tech, TCU, Texas, and A&M. It is going to be and SMU. It is going to be a crazy state this year. But Baylor and TCU, I think, they've been building for something.
Yeah.
Baylor finished 4th in the Big 12 last year, if you didn't know that. TCU finished 5th. Baylor finished on a regular season streak of 6 games in a row. They started off pretty shaky, but they got it going later. They also are returning every big offensive piece. They're returning so many guys, and I think Baylor, once they figured things out, they were actually kind of a scary team later in that season. Not many of you may have saw that, but Baylor is an impressive team. TCU has Josh Hoover at quarterback, who is at most rankings at the top of the Big 12 in QB rankings.
Yeah.
So I think one of those 2 teams will surprise people and be top 3 in the Big 12 this year.
Really?
100%.
Top 3?
I think either one of these teams, I'm taking the easier route and saying one of these 2. I know that it's not as hard to guess that, but I'm saying I think Baylor I'm more confident in. I think Baylor will be a top 25 team. Okay. At least at some point. They're a good squad.
No, yeah, I completely agree.
They're good. They're a team I'm buying. I'm at least buying them. They're going to be better than they were last year. I'm buying the stock.
Buying the stock like Bitcoin.
Yeah.
All right. But no, I completely agree. Baylor and TCU, especially Baylor, everyone kind of counted them out. I think we had them in like our bottom.
Well, they started 2 and 4.
Bottom 5 on our projected Big 12 rankings, which finished awful. But yeah, I completely agree. Baylor, I think definitely last year I saw a lot of like just flashes, especially that BYU game. Not to like hate on your school, we were actually watching it at Chase's wedding.
I got married the day of that game.
Jack was watching it with me.
Yes,
but yeah, no,
they came back.
Baylor was up. I thought they were gonna win, honestly. To where Baylor and TCU towards the end of the season both had really good moments. I was like, okay, they're definitely a team to watch this next year because they have a bunch of returning talent.
Yep,
and they've picked up recruits too.
Yep.
To where.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything. These are not sleepers for the playoff. I'm not saying I'm taking these guys to the playoff. I don't think either of these guys are playoff ready, but I think Baylor's a team that could win 9 or 10 games maybe.
Maybe sneak into a New Year's 6.
Well,
actually, that'd be the playoff now. Yeah.
They could definitely sneak into like the Pop-Tarts Bowl, one of the Alamo Bowl.
Pop-Tarts Bowl.
Yes.
Goated Bowl. All right, my next team, it's not really, I'm kind of buying. It's not really a buy, though.
Are you holding them?
I'm holding them because they made the Natty. Notre Dame.
All right.
I think Kirk Herbstreit just did a segment with Marcus Freeman and ESPN. This is just the beginning, I think, for Notre Dame with Jeremiah Love at running back. And then what's the other one?
It's crazy he's returning.
The other one, like the RB2, he's also very good. I think
Love is so good.
I think Jeremiah Love, for me, is the front runner for the Heisman. I think this last year with Genty, we saw that running backs can win this award. To where I am very honestly, I think Jeremiah Love will win the Heisman. I think it's his year.
He's the
Especially
favorite.
that playoff game, that hurdle and everything. Just like that last half of the season.
He had some crazy hurdles this year.
Last half of the season, he was just incredible.
Yeah.
And both their quarterbacks, Carr, and then I know the senior transferred out. There's a freshman, CJ Carr, and then sophomore Kenny Minchie. I don't know if I said that right, but they're fighting for the top spot. And after the spring game, a lot of people are like, we can win with both these players. And they've picked up a lot of recruits this year.
I think Notre Dame will be top 5 preseason.
I think Notre
100%.
Dame, I usually kind of hate on them because they have an easy schedule and whatnot, but I really think Notre Dame, they kind of proved themselves in the playoff, beating Georgia and Penn State. I think they will be a top 4 team this year. I feel kind of bad for them. I think the committee needs to work on this. They need to fix the seeding so Notre Dame can get that top 4 spot, especially if they finish 12-0. Because, I mean, they have rivalries every year. Like USC, I think USC will be a little bit better this year. I don't know if they play Michigan this year or not, but they always have games where they prove themselves. And I think Notre Dame will be. So I guess I'm kind of buying them a little bit because I think they'll honestly do better because Riley Leonard last year, he was okay. But, I mean, that first drive of the national championship kind of proved he's more of a running quarterback.
Yeah,
because
he just didn't have a reliable arm.
It was like we posted about it. He just did a QB sneak every play.
Yeah, he did a QB sneak.
To where I think now that they have a quarterback, a young quarterback too, that can throw the ball, I'm very, very high on Notre Dame.
100%. Let's go to some teams we're selling. And I have some more I'm buying on, some more I'm waiting on.
All right.
Let's go to a quick one. I think we're both selling on this team. I hate to say it. Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I'm selling on Ole Miss right now because I feel like this is interesting. So I'll give you some quick stats for the viewers, for you, and you can just process this information how you will. Ole Miss is one of the best transfer classes this year. However, it is quantity over quality is what it seems like to me. I could be completely misreading that. They might have gotten some real dogs from lower talent, but they got like 45 transfers, like an absurd amount of transfers. They obviously had a ton of guys leave. They're ranked 113th in returning production, so obviously they would have a lot of transfers. But all those transfers, there's like one 4-star. There's like one top 25 guy. Yeah. Those are all. I mean, I'm not saying you should be spoiled with all these top 25 guys, but I mean, not what they had last year.
No,
last year that transfer class was ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean they did lose Judkins at running back last year, but you're losing obviously Jackson Dart. Mm-hmm. Shout out J Dart. And then Trey Harris, one of the best receivers, if not probably top 3 in my opinion in this last year's draft.
Yeah,
to where it's a completely new offense. Yeah, I mean I'm a very big Lane Kiffin fan. I think he's gonna figure out a way to win. I don't think they'll be as good. I think they'll probably finish around 8-4. You know, it's like I guess right below what they were last year. But I just don't see them being that same team they were last year. I could be completely.
I just
wrong.
don't see them improving. I see them being slightly worse.
Yeah, I just think
I'm selling.
I just think after losing a veteran quarterback, experienced quarterback like Jackson Dart was, it's just hard to kind of recover from that.
Yeah, I don't know if Ole Miss can rebuild like the big schools can right now. I think they will. I mean, maybe they are. I don't know, but they should be able to come. Like, I think this is a rebuilding year a little bit. I don't think they're gonna be bad.
I think they'll be like bottom 10 of the top 25.
Yeah, like they could stay ranked.
I think they'll kind of just hover there. Like they'll probably just lose to the bigger teams this year. Yeah, like in the SEC, but. Yeah, that's something. I do love Lane Kiffin, like I said. I think he will figure it out. He's an offensive genius usually to where I'm excited because I love Ole Miss. But, yeah, it's definitely sad to say.
Yeah, tough.
And then my two other, I'm just going to say them real quick, is Iowa State.
For selling?
Selling.
Okay.
Iowa State and Kansas State. I think they'll probably be about the same, maybe just a little worse as they were last year. I don't know, maybe Avery Johnson can prove me wrong, but in those big games, he just did not look as good.
Deer in headlights a little bit.
Yeah, deer in headlights, especially the BYU game. I was there for that. But I don't know, maybe that'll just be good experience for him, which I hope. I think Kansas State being good at football is so fun. I love Kansas State. And Avery Johnson, I think he's dope. To where I'm kind of sad to say that. Iowa State was just like a weird team.
They're kind of in the middle of the pack with returning guys too. I didn't put them in my selling, but I was close. Mm-hmm. I just don't see them having a season like they had this year.
Well, it's just like hard because I feel like they'll kind of just be like the same.
I feel like they'll be 9 or 10 wins. They'll have a good season,
and they'll have like those 1 or 2 losses that are just like, how did you guys lose this game?
Yeah.
And then Iowa State kind of got proven in the Big 12 championship that they're just not that elite.
They got showed up.
To where I will say that game to finish the season, Farmageddon, was very entertaining.
That was a
I will
great
say
game.
that. Great game.
Yeah.
I know Chase didn't like the outcome of that game.
I wasn't happy about it. Meant my BYU Cougars didn't go to the Big 12 championship. I don't know if could have beaten the Sun Devils in that, but we definitely would have given a better fight than Iowa State would have. Tell you that. But the other team I'm selling is Memphis. Again, I hate to say this one because Memphis was fun to cheer for last year.
Out of left field.
I know. Memphis was good last year to a degree, but they underperformed severely. I mean, we thought they were going to be. We thought they were nearly going to run the table.
I will say though, that West Virginia Memphis game, I think it was like the first bowl game.
Oh, the bowl, yeah.
That
it
game
was the Frisco Bowl.
That game was crazy.
That was such a crazy game.
The ending was so
the
wild.
ending actually
Memphis
pissed me
ended
off.
up. It was like 42-37. I was looking at
was
that
a
post today. I was
crazy
just
game.
scrolling through our Instagram, but
Fun game.
it was like there was like a fumble and then another. It was just weird.
So Memphis is one of the only. So I'm gonna say Memphis. I'm grouping them in the Power 5 for this subject. They're not Power 5, but they're the most notable team that's losing all the production. So basically, they're ranked like 120th in losing production. So they're losing everybody. Now again, we're still going crazy off the returning production, but it's one of the best stats. When we're in May, it's one of the best stats to look at. It's really what we have. It's like, all right, who's coming back? Memphis is losing pretty much everybody. I don't see Memphis dominating the G5 like they have in past years this year. I would love for that because I think Memphis is a fun team to watch, but I think there's other G5 teams coming up because my team that I'm buying this year, buying even more than they were, they had their best season in school history last year, UNLV.
I knew you were gonna say that. I was gonna do them, but I was like, I think he's gonna take it because
Dan Mullen is in
Dan
town.
Mullen's in town. Their quarterback, he stayed, right?
Yes. So here's the thing. Dan Mullen, if you guys don't know who Dan Mullen is, you should. But if you don't, it's okay. He is the Florida offensive coordinator for Urban Meyer, then took over as head coach. But he was the offensive coordinator for those Tim Tebow back-to-back, or not back, those 2 national championships that they won.
It was a win-loss win.
Yeah.
So I mean,
So he was the mastermind behind those teams. And Dan Mullen, we'll see, because here's what I wrote in here. I wrote huge transfer class, especially for a G5 school, fantastic transfer class. Going to depend on Mullen's ability to evaluate talent. And I think that sums it up perfectly. Yeah. That transfer class is a lot of guys who are lower. I mean, it's UNLV. It's hard to get guys to UNLV. I think he's going to make it a destination. I really hope he does. Las Vegas is a great place to be. I think for some of these guys, they want to be in Vegas. Small school. But I think UNLV has potential to be a dominant G5 team. Now, again, I said last year was probably their best year in school history. They went, I think, 10-3, made the Mountain West Championship. UNLV has like hardly ever been good, ever.
yeah.
Ever. This is a team that's like, they weren't even good in the 70s, 80s, 90s, ever.
Well, and the thing is, their only losses were to a really good Syracuse team.
Yep.
Which was another great game.
And they lost off a field goal in overtime or something. I can't remember. That was
it
a crazy
like
game.
double overtime, and then to Boise State.
Boise State twice.
I mean, take away Genty, and they would have won. And then second half of that conference championship, UNLV dominated.
Yeah.
Because it was like 21-0, and then I think the final was 28-20, something
No, it was
like that.
I think it was 21-7. I don't think Boise State scored in the second half.
Whatever it was,
Something like that. I don't
UNLV
remember.
definitely, they shut him down to where they could have won that game if they played the first half. But yeah, no, I'm very high on UNLV too. I think they might be.
They did lose a lot. I'll give it that. If we're gonna go off the same criteria that we did for all the other teams we just talked about, they lost a ton.
Yeah.
But I think they're making up for it. I think Dan Mullen is cleaning house.
Mm-hmm.
I think UNLV. I don't know if I'm gonna say they're gonna. They might win the Mountain West. They might be my pick to win the Mountain West. We'll see about that over Boise State, who is returning a lot of guys.
That is true.
I think UNLV is going to give them a run for their money.
Boise State is returning a lot of talent, but obviously not the man.
We'll be talking about Boise State, but I do want to talk about a specific team here. These are some teams I'm holding out on. I'm going to list them all because we don't have time to talk about all of these, but there's a few I want to talk about. All right, and I'm going to keep on talking about some teams I'm waiting on. Arizona State, I'm going to go briefly over. People are buying Arizona State. People are going crazy. I know Josh Pate, I think he has them number 10 or something like that. I'm going to have to look, but people have Arizona State in their top 15s. They finished great. Here's my thing. I am not selling Arizona State. I am not buying Arizona State. However, Cam Scatabo was too good to be replaced that fast.
Very true.
Sam Levitt's good. It's probably gonna be one of the youngest teams in college football.
They also have their receiver healthy again.
They do. They have a great team.
Well, they've also brought in a couple receivers, I believe.
They've had a good transfer class
and recruiting.
So
the Sun Devil, they're starting to shoot up a little bit. They're starting to become another because they had a few good years in the Pac-12. I remember I was always scared for Oregon to play them.
Yeah.
To where they're starting to come back a little bit. They kind of took a dip there, but they're kind of back.
Yeah.
Kind of back.
As much as I hate to say it, I don't really hate to say it, but Scatabo really carried a lot of that. I mean, that Texas game, and of course, they didn't even win that, but like, you look at their games, they were 6-1 in one-score games last year. You might think that's a good stat. Normally, when you're looking at a stat for a team, that's typically not a good stat because that means I mean, I know the BYU game, I was there. You were one play away from not winning that. Did win it. But that Arizona State team, not saying it wasn't earned, it was 100% real. But 6-1 in one-score games does mean there was a fair amount of went your way, went lucky. Were they really an 8-4 team, or were they really that 11-2 team? So Arizona State, I would say I'm pushing the brakes a little bit. I'm not selling, I'm not buying, but people are going crazy like they're going to be so good this year. I'm like, dude, they lost one of the best running backs I've ever seen. Still underrated though. Cam Scatabo is so good. He's so good. Anyways, Nebraska last year disappointed me so much.
Really, bro? Nebraska.
They were supposed to. I'm holding. I'm not buying.
Okay.
I'm holding.
I just make sure.
I said I'm waiting for them to play again. Raiola could be getting better, but they lost some key pieces, especially on their defense. Threw me off. BYU, Texas, Florida. We're going to talk about them more. Florida, I know you want to talk about a little bit. I'm actually not buying them, and I'll give you my reasons if you want to give your reasons for buying them.
You can go first. Okay.
It's not. Okay. It's a common pick right now. Everyone knows what's going on with Florida. They finished last year on a huge hot streak. Fantastic. But I would argue they almost have a worse schedule this year.
It's true.
Compared to Oklahoma, they do not. But they play. Here, I wrote this down. Early in the season, they play. This is 4 games in a row.
No buys. No buys.
No buys. I don't think so. It's hard because they're TBD, so I can't tell. But this is the order. At LSU, at Miami, home versus Texas, at A&M. That's in a row. And then they get like Mississippi State. Then they play Georgia at home. Then they play Tennessee and Ole Miss.
Yeah, no.
And then Florida State.
Because I did look at their schedule.
Ridiculous
last night.
schedule once again.
I was very hesitant, but they just have. I mean, they got DJ, obviously. They got Lagway,
Yeah.
who wins the Heisman like every time I play Dynasty in college football.
Yeah, he does.
I'm just really high on them because they finished on a very good streak towards the end, like you said, to where I think especially, I mean, not always, but I think a lot of the time when players are returning and they get transfers, that momentum kind of does carry over.
It does.
To where, yeah, and there was like the kind of scuffle with the coach, but then nothing happened to where, I don't know.
I think.
But like you said, the SEC this year between Texas, Georgia, LSU, and Bama, obviously, it's just like, it's hard.
It's crowded.
It's a very crowded conference.
And South Carolina. But anyways, what I'm feeling, with Florida, everyone's buying them. But with this schedule, I don't know if Florida wins 9 games. I don't know if they win 10 games. They might be way better than last year. I don't know if they win 10 games, though. That schedule is freaking hard. That's crazy. That's my only thing. It's just the schedule.
It's like there was like a graphic made. I forgot who made it. Maybe we did. I don't know. But it's like how many games teams need to win to make the playoff, in Florida like 7. Like 7-5 with this schedule.
Oh, we didn't make that, but I did love that post.
Yeah.
Like they don't need that. They don't need to have that many wins.
No, yeah. No, actually, especially this year too.
Yeah.
But that kind of jumps into what I wanted to ask you to finish off. There's been rumors and talks with the committee that they're going to increase to 16 teams. Now, there's a lot of backlash right now with 12 because of how the seeding all worked last year. Every team that had a bye lost their first game because they had like a month off. But then...
And they weren't the best 4 teams anyways.
Yeah, to where it's just like...
Well, some of them were.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. To where... do you think we should try and make the 12 work first? And I believe they're going to 14 next year.
Yeah, I think the 14's already been confirmed.
To where, do you think we need to fix that first? Because, like you said, the seeding, that should not have been that way. It should have just been top 12 straight up. I think you should have the best 4 conferences in it. But if it's like a 13 team, they'll go to 12. They don't go to 4. Yeah. Like Boise State and Arizona State did. No hate to them. They're great teams last year.
They earned their right to be in the playoff, just not necessarily the 3 and 4.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To where, what do you think of 16 teams? To where no team would have a bye, and there's also SEC and Big Ten would each have 4 bids, and then ACC, Big 12 2.
Well, that's what I really don't like. I don't like having the number of bids thing. If we're gonna do 14 or 16, it still needs to just be a a straight up.
I mean, I like
list.
get it because usually if like looking at the top 16 from last year, it would have been about that.
It
from
would have
each
been
conference.
Yeah.
But like I agree. I think.
But I think you don't have to
it should
force
be-
that. I
it
think
should-
you just let it happen.
It should be like any other tournament. It should
I think you just let it
It should
happen.
just be the 16
Yeah.
top 16.
And I actually really do like rewarding the conference champions of their conference championship games. I like that. However, I feel like we just need to chill out. Like, let's just make the 12 one
Well,
work.
how do you-
like? Why are we freaking out?
So yeah, like with 16 teams, how would you reward conference championships? Like
Just a bid, but 16
But, like,
at
let's-
that point they'd all be in.
yeah, exactly.
So,
Or even if like let's
it'd be
say
just the
let's say
G5 team.
Arizona State was 13 and they won and they go to the 4 seed, but then I don't know, another team better than them just drops.
I think it
This
sounds
is
like it's
like-
pretty unanimous that we're not going back to the automatic bid gives you a automatic buy.
Yeah.
I think we're going away from that. However, I don't know. I like the automatic bid. I just don't like the automatic buy. I think most people agree on that. Like at the most conservative spot, I think 90% of college football fans agree on that. So I think that's what's going to happen. I don't like the whole 14-16 thing. I'm like, just chill. Let's just figure it out.
We haven't
Like,
even
why
made,
do we need?
we haven't even made 12 work.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like we realized. I think 12 would work great if we just did it how we wanted to do it last year.
Yeah. No, I completely
Let's
agree.
just chill out.
Completely
Let's just
agree
do
with
the
you.
top. Let's just do the top 12 teams, and if there's a team outside of the top 12 that won a conference championship in the top 4 conferences, they'll get in.
But they're at 12.
But they'll
or
get at the
11.
lowest spot.
Yes, completely agree.
So how Clemson worked out? Clemson was good to be at the 12. They weren't that great of a team last year.
But they jumped in because they should
jumped
be
in.
rewarded. I
They
completely
got
agree.
the 12th spot because they were, they beat SMU. Didn't have a great strength of schedule, but they got in
Well,
and they
then
got 12th spot.
Arizona State and
They had to go play at Texas.
It should have been Boise State 10, Arizona State 11, Clemson 12.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion, that's what it should have been, but obviously it wasn't. To where, yeah, no, I completely agree. I think we need to figure out 12, maybe even go to 8. I don't know.
I will say for your main gripe as an Oregon fan, a lot of the big thing was we had to wait a month to play. And I've heard that would still be a problem. If we go to 16, it wouldn't be a problem anymore.
It's
Because you
true.
just play an even 1 through 16
Well,
split.
and we've talked about it.
just
We can
play.
jump into that another episode. Me and Chase.
we'll get into
we
that.
talked about it for like an hour last night, but
yeah,
yeah.
we did.
To where there's a lot of things I think the committee could do to make the playoff better. And there's even been rumors and talks that they're going to start picking teams, like especially the last few, who will get us more TV views. To where it's just dumb. To where there's a lot of things wrong with college football after the last 3 or 4 years. And it's like, I love college football still, but for me, it's like, okay, it's kind of ruining the game.
I think we just need to chill out.
Yeah.
I think it's just like calm down. We did such a huge change. We did this massive change. Like, it didn't work.
Well, it was like NIL and the conference realignments all happened within the same 2-year span.
and the playoff realignment
to where
too.
it's just like everything is. I feel like it's just out of control right now.
Yeah,
it's
it
just
is.
it's all just a money grab for the NCAA.
We'll
We
have
all
a
know
whole
that.
talk on NIL as well. But you know what? I'm just so happy to have football back. Basketball ended, March Madness ended, and I'm just like, man, I want football back so bad.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. We got some great week 1 matchups. We'll be
Luckily-
previewing, of course.
Luckily, NBA playoffs are getting me through the off season.
It's not the lottery.
Yeah. Shout out to Jazz, man. 5th
Oh
pick.
my gosh.
Anyways, that is
Can't even
it.
sleep at night.
Dang.
Anyway,
Really? It's been one night, dude.
Sorry, I just threw some baggage on the podcast.
It's been
end.
one night. Already losing sleep.
I'm
over it.
struggling. Cooper Flag was supposed to be in Utah, man.
All right.
It's all right.
Anyways, that is it for season 3, episode 1 of
Yes.
Showtime.
College football.
Oh!
Let's go. Dang.
Wow.
Man.
Okay.
So good to be back, guys. We will be back again for another episode as soon as possible. And see you next time.
Let's go Ducks.